Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video I did last year that I had a lot of fun doing, and that is reviewing all of the 2021 releases that I've read so far this year that are romance releases. I have like 15 books I've read, which actually isn't a lot. I've been primarily reading a lot of backlist titles. A lot are from 2020, but a lot are from other years as well. But I have read 15 new releases, 16 new releases, and I just wanted to talk about my feelings about them and see what you guys thought about them as well. So I will go ahead and get into all the romances I've read that have released so far this year. I have included a couple of YA romance releases because they still technically are romance. So the first one is Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant. This one I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I was just like giggling obsessed with this book. I did read an e-arc of it from NetGalley, and I read it as like the second book I read this year, and this one's adorable. Our heroine, I know I just talked about this in my video I posted on Monday, so sorry if this is repetitive to you if you watched that, but our heroine is a writer, and her mom secretly applies to this like arts school for a writing program, and she gets in. She's never shared her writing with anyone but her best friend, and so when she gets into the school she feels like she's not good enough and kind of freezes and can't write at all, and so she's submitting like old writing, and her best friend comes up with a plan that they need to make it look like she is falling in love with someone, and that way she can get inspiration for writing. And so she chooses this like really cute hotshot guy in class who's from a good family, and he's like such a good writer. But then she has a neighbor who is adorable, who she's starting to like as well, but he's like geeky, and he is a chef like his mom. He loves cooking, and it's kind of a love triangle. So things get messy. She does make very messy decisions at the end, but I loved how realistic that was. She does have a brother who is autistic, which I really enjoyed as well because that's a big part of the book, and her relationship with the guys, and I could not rave about this enough. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was absolutely adorable, and you should read it. The next book I read was First Comes Like by Alicia Rai, and this one solidified the fact that I don't think Alicia Rai is the romance author for me. I've read a lot of her books and only really enjoyed one of them. So this one is Gia's story, and Gia is a beauty influencer, and she's been talking to this actor on social media, and they've been falling for each other, and then she realizes that he is in town at an event, and so she shows up and is like, hey, it's me, and he's like, who are you? So he's either lying about not knowing her, or actually doesn't know her and someone's catfishing her. So either one is like horrifying, and they end up having to fake date at one point, and I just didn't buy the romance. And a lot of Alicia Rai's books are very, very, very slow going, and then they make a decision at the end that really doesn't make sense to me. So I gave this one 2 stars. I just didn't enjoy the process of reading it. I wanted to like it so much. I mean, Alicia Rai's hilarious. I love her social media presence and her as a person, but her romances for me, the last 3 that I've read, I've given like 2 stars. So disappointing, and I don't know if I'll be picking up any more of her books, but those are my thoughts on this book. Then I read an e-arc of Actor Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. We can all agree this one's just amazing. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I loved Eve. I love Jacob. Eve is kind of kicked out because she is just very flighty in the sense that she can't really hold down a job because she loses interest, and so she was doing like event planning, and it goes like really bad, and she's like, not for me. And so her parents are like, you have to be serious, get a job, and we're cutting you off. And so she drives until she sees a help wanted sign at this bed and breakfast for a chef, and she's like, I like to cook. And so she interviews for the job, and Jacob is like, absolutely not. Jacob's autistic. He is very structured and like likes his routines and likes people who are planned and like put together, and he's like, everything about Eve freaks him out, but he's so attracted to her. It's hilarious, his like inner struggle of like hating her but wanting her, and it's just adorable. And Eve's kind of a hot mess. She like runs him over with her car, falls into a pond. She does a lot of things, but they fall in love, and it's absolutely adorable. I was smiling the whole time. I did give it 4.5 stars because I did think that it was very character driven. Not a lot of things like actually happened in the plot, and a lot of it was only between the 2 characters, but it was adorable. I really liked it, and Talia Hibbert can do no wrong. Then I read The Duke Heist by Erika Ridley. This was sent to me by the author, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars, I think, 4.5. And our heroine is adopted with a bunch of her like adoptive siblings, and they all have these like skills. So she's really skilled at like stealing things, and one of them skilled at disguises. One of them can do like voices and make it sound like it's coming from different places. It's really cool. And so they're looking for a portrait that their adoptive father had that was kind of stolen, kind of taken, like this like exchange thing, and so they know that this Duke has it, and so she decides she's gonna steal it, and she accidentally ends up kidnapping the Duke instead, and then it's her romance with the Duke. It is a really slow romance, and what I loved about this though was the found family in this. It does take a while for the romance to develop, and the ending really has them falling for each other, and it's very much also him finding a family with her and her family, which I just like, it warmed my heart. I loved it so much, so that's why I gave it 4 stars. That's why I really enjoyed the story, not necessarily because the romance was so amazing, but the community of the family as a whole was amazing, and I loved all the characters. It was a lot of fun, so 4 out of 5 stars for this one. Then I read A Fall Love Story by Lonely. I read this as an e-arc, and then Simon Teen did send me the physical copy, which I freaked out when they did because it's just absolutely stunning, and I love this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Our hero and heroine have competing pho restaurants, and their parents actually have this like huge feud going on, and so they've never really even like talked to each other, and then at school they have to talk to each other, and they start really liking each other and hanging out more and falling for each other, but they can't tell their parents, and they're both really struggling with what they want to do in college after high school, and both of their families have different perspectives on what they want for their children, and I really like this. Secrets come out about their family. It's not really like hate to love because their families are enemies, but they never hated each other. They just like steered clear of each other. Now they're getting to know each other, so I wouldn't market this as enemies or hate to love. It's more, we weren't allowed to be together, so we never talked to each other, but now we are, and we're really liking each other. And they kind of start out as friends too. It's really cute, and they have to go on these dates where they're trying out restaurants together because her friend is on the paper and like pushes them towards it. It's adorable. I love this. 5 out of 5 stars. If you want a really cute YA romance, read this one. Then I read Roman and Jewel, which is kind of at the edge of YA. So our heroine, I think, is like 17 or 18, and she wants to be on Broadway. She's a great singer and actress, and so she tries out for this play, Roman and Jewel, which is like Hamilton for Romeo and Juliet, like a hip-hop Romeo and Juliet, and she gets the understudy part. They said she's perfect, but they're hiring a like pop star to be the main like person in the play, which she's really sad about because she thought she would get the part. And then the love interest is the Roman character, which is like the main lead of the play. And so what happens is she ends up standing in for the actual lead because she's off like doing signatures, autographs, whatever. So she has to stand in for her, and someone records it and it goes viral, and people are like, this girl's amazing, why isn't she in the lead? And ends up with all this controversy, but things got really crazy really fast, and it was very, very, very insta-love. And I feel like the lead that was above her was kind of like too cliche of like, I'm a diva pop star and that's why everyone hates me, but I'm gonna get this role. And so I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. I really love the beginning, but only the beginning was when we had actual rehearsal of them even doing the play, and I was like, but that's what I wanted in this book. I wanted so much more of that. Like I'll Be the One by Lila Lee has so much of like the competition of like the performing aspect of it, because they were in a K-pop competition for that book. I love it when it's a dancing and singing book with lots of dancing and singing, which this one didn't really have with the performing arts aspect. So things got crazy at the end, and I didn't really like understand the characters' actions at the end. It just kind of got like soap opera-y, so I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. I unfortunately was not a fan. Then I read A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this one, I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I flew through this really quickly over the course of a weekend. It's really long. It is book number 4, right? Because I think we have the first 3, and then Court of whatever was book 3.5, Frost and Starlight, and then we have Silver Flames. This one is Nesta and Cassian's story, and I really enjoyed it. Nesta is a very hardened and broken character, especially with what she went through in the original trilogy, and so she's really learning to let people in again and protect herself, but I really love the kind of sisterhood, womanhood plot line that was going on. I loved her friends, and I loved her slowly letting Cassian in. She was really mean to people. I really was frustrated with Feyre and Rhys. Like, I couldn't care less about them now as the background couple, but I really love this. I gave it 5 stars. Not much more to say about this one. I think we all know what it's about. Then I read The Devil in Her Bed by Kerrigan Byrne, and this one I was really excited for. It's book 3 in the series. Our heroine is trying to track down the people responsible for killing her parents, and when her parents were killed, she ended up taking on the identity of a wealthy girl that died in that attack as well. Like, everyone died but her, and she decided to take on the identity of the girl that was her friend so that she can have the resources to try to figure out who did it. And so it turns out that there is this like vigilante, I guess you could call him, and she ends up meeting him, and she also is trying to like take down these bad guys, and he's also trying to as well, and they like meet, and she keeps her identity secret, which I didn't love about this book. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. The romance was just okay, but a huge part of it was she did not tell him who she was really until the very end, which I didn't really like that she was keeping that secret. And then the villain was like weird. I had a hard time like following what was happening with this villain. It was like this whole big like secret society thing that I don't think I even still understand, and I didn't love the direction the book took, so I gave this one unfortunately 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's the lowest rated Kerrigan Byrne book I've rated, but I wasn't a fan. Then I read Accidentally Engaged, and this one I also gave 2 out of 5 stars. This one I really wasn't a fan of. Our heroine is a baker, and she wants to enter a couples baking competition, but she is not in a relationship, and she runs into her neighbor across the hall, and he instantly hits on her, and she's kind of interested, kind of not, and then she learns that that is actually the guy her parents are trying to like have her marry. And first of all, I was like, he knows he's here to marry his boss's daughter, yet he's still like flirting with people even though he knows he's supposed to be marrying this girl, which I thought was like a little weird. He has a foot fetish, which I thought was an interesting choice on the author's part. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny. It was weird to me with what she did with that, but I just like didn't love this. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of miscommunication, and I could care less about the romance as it was going on. I also thought the baking competition was going to be different, because they do the baking competition, but a lot of it was just them like recording them baking together, and they had to send it in, and so that wasn't really what I was expecting, and I didn't really love that aspect, so I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I did a whole live show with Lisa and Lacey for Ravished by Romance for last month, so I can link that down below if you're interested, but I would skip this one. Then I listened to the audiobook of How to Fill It Flirting by Denise Williams. This one, I listened to the audio, but I was sent this copy from Berkeley Romance, and this was adorable. I think he gave it 4.5 stars. So our heroine is really bad at flirting, and her friends try to have her like get this list together of things she wants to do, and so she goes to a bar and instantly hits it off with this really adorable guy, and they have like really awkward moments together, but they're like adorable, like heartwarming, endearing awkward moments, and they start liking each other, and they have a one-night stand. They figure out that she is actually a professor at the school, and they think they're gonna cut departments, and she's worried they're gonna cut her department, and he is the company hired to figure out what departments aren't needed anymore and cut them. So there's already a forbidden romance aspect, because there's no way they can be in a relationship, because that could influence his analysis of who they're gonna cut, and then she is terrified like that she is gonna be cut, and so they have to be secretly seeing each other, and I really enjoyed this one. It was so much fun. It was just like I said, very endearing and adorable. She, though, does have a really bad past with an abusive ex, and he actually comes back into the picture, so know that going in, but I really enjoyed this one. It was just so cute. Just a really great romance after reading some not great romances, and I'm super excited to read this author's next book. Then I ended up reading Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez, and this one, our heroine is a travel vlogger, so she travels the world with a YouTube channel, and she's actually now cannot travel because her sister, her half-sister, drops her baby off and makes her take care of it. Her sister is an addict, and so she's taking care of this baby, and she's also spending most of her life worried about the fact that she has ALS. And so there is nothing on the back that talks about that. It just says that she is, her mother and sister died young, and so she doesn't want to take anything for granted. She is like for certain she's gonna die before she's 30, and so she doesn't want to get into any relationships. She doesn't want to have any kids, no ties or anything. And at one point the baby is like being really crazy, crying, and her neighbor is a lawyer, and he comes in and is like, do you need help? And they end up starting a romance together, and it's sweet, but she really frustrated me because she wouldn't get into any kind of relationship because she was so certain she was gonna die, but she refused to get tested because there's no test for ALS. It's more testing for everything and like making sure it's not those things, like process of elimination, and so she never gets tested, and she's like for sure he doesn't like her because she's like, well, he never has made a move, and it's really obnoxious because like the whole book you know he likes her and people tell her he likes her, but she is like adamant he doesn't until the very end. This is a very slow burn romance, and not at all sunshine and rainbows like the cover shows. I gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. I wanted more, and I didn't love our heroine and what she was saying and doing in this book. And the baby felt like it was just there for the plot and not as an actual character, which I kind of was annoyed with, but 3 out of 5 stars. I really loved the first one of the series and really loved the second one. It was so good, but this one was not my favorite. Then I read A Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer Armentrout. I did get an advanced paperback from the PR company, so I read this early. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is book 3 in the series. I don't want to say too much, but Poppy is doing things. It's fantasy romance, and we're figuring out a lot of secrets and jumping in where the last book left off. I like this better than book 2, but I still love book 1 the most, and it's again leaving us on a cliffhanger. We're like, well, what's gonna happen next? So lots of secrets were revealed. I think there was too much of let's go to this place and this place and this place, and they spend like 2 seconds there and have to like leave again, and it just felt like some things were built up, and then the moment we got there it was a huge letdown of what actually happened. So I could have used a little bit more suspense and action in those parts, but overall 4 out of 5 stars for this book. Then I read Wild Rain by Beverly Jenkins. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I forget who said it. It might have been Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings said they're very low angst, and that is the perfect way to describe Beverly Jenkins. All of her romances are very low angst. It's just they like meet, they start liking each other, and then they're together, and like it's usually some like extra plot point of like someone's trying to kill someone that's like in the book. And so with the romance, it's just very sweet. And so our heroine is Spring. She is the sister of Colton from Tempest, and she is very independent. She doesn't even want a husband. She doesn't want kids. She just wants to continue like working with her horses, and she is really well respected in town, though she does have a past where people do talk down to her about it, and that makes her really mad. And so this reporter comes into town, he hurts himself, she finds him, she helps like him get better, and they fall for each other, and it's really sweet. But like a lot of Beverly Jenkins, they get together pretty early on in the book, and then there's another plot point, like someone's trying to kill one of them that they have to figure out who it is. So I give this 4 out of 5 stars. It was just very sweet and nice, and I just love Beverly Jenkins. So this, you know, going in, there's not a lot at stake with the romance, and he has to learn to be with someone as independent and strong as Spring, which I really loved. So check out Beverly Jenkins if you haven't yet. Then I have Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. I got an arc of this because I got to interview the author with Lacey on her channel and a couple other booktubers, and that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, this just wasn't the book for me. It's a vampire romance. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Our heroine is very interesting. I didn't really love her. I didn't really love the romance that was happening. So she figures out about vampires and figures out secrets about her life, and I feel like she accepted things too quickly. I was like, you've lived your whole life not knowing this, and you're like, oh really, okay. I feel like she should have questioned things a little bit more, and I just didn't love the romance, and I feel like the plot was very slow. There were some like really interesting, like shocking parts, but they were very few and far between, so I didn't really love reading this, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Then I read A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett. This one had such a strong start. So our heroine has this like society of scientists who are all females, and someone's trying to kill them, and so there's like this whole plot going on with like people trying to like put like dangerous toxic smoke, putting it in like crowds and like killing people, and like she can work to like stop that. And so someone's trying to kill her, so they hire this Scottish bodyguard. I listened to this book on audio, but I was sent the book from the publisher, and I just loved like his Scottish accent in the audiobook. That's why it reminded me. And he is known for protecting people, but there's a reason why he hasn't been back to protect people. And so the book goes on from there, and he's just continuing to protect her, and I loved the beginning, but then it quickly turned very boring, and I had a hard time getting through it. I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like I missed something in their romance. Like they instantly were like on each other and like intimate with each other, and I was like, when did that happen? They've just talked to each other. I feel like there needed to be more build up in their romance, and there just like wasn't a lot to the plot that I was loving. I wanted a little bit more. I didn't like feel as engaged with the plot or the romance throughout it, so 3 out of 5 stars for me. I just like fizzled out by the end. And the last one's another historical that I recently finished, and that is The Eris Gets a Duke by Harper St. George. This one, again, I was sent the physical copy, and I listened to the audiobook through my library, and this one is the author's, I believe, first book with Berkeley, and it is the first in a historical series. Our heroine is an American heiress, and her parents want her to get married, and there's this duke who needs money because he is destitute because of what his father did, and he's in charge of like all these tenants, and his sisters need a season, so he needs money. And so he's like, maybe maybe I can marry them. And at first they're like, oh, marry our younger daughter, and then they decide to go with her. But they met actually in the very beginning at this underground fight, and he's an underground fighter because he needs money, and they end up having a kiss at that underground fight, and then end up meeting like outside of there, and it's so good. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. I do think like the underground fighting was such a good part of the plot. Like I loved the beginning, but then we didn't get it until the very end, and I actually had to rewind the audiobook at the end because I thought I missed something because it was over so quickly, and I was like, wait, what? And I thought I missed something. I wanted him to grovel a little bit more for what he did because there's a little bit of miscommunication on his part. He didn't explain something, and she was like, okay, that's how you feel, and so he should have just come out and told her, and it didn't, and then he all just had to show up and like they were together, and I was like, okay, but like where's the grovel? So I want a little bit more groveling, but this was a really great romance. I loved how honest he was with her parents because they're like, oh yeah, you can marry our daughter. He's like, these people don't know me, and they're like pushing their daughter at me, like don't they care? But they just wanted his title and he needed her money, and so it was a really good book. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. I can't wait to read more from what this author has in historical romances. Book 2 comes out in July, so I'm really excited to read that. I think it comes at the very end of June, like June 28th or something, so pretty much July. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all of those. This was a longer video than I thought it would be, but those are my thoughts on the 2021 releases I've read so far this year. Let me know if you've read any of these or if there are any other 2021 releases I really need to read. I have a lot that have recently released that I might do a reading vlog for, like Twice Shy that I just ordered. There is People You Meet on Vacation, Dial A for Aunties. I know Second First Impressions just came out. There's a lot I need to read, so let me know what I should get to and what your thoughts are on these. I would love to hear. As always, thanks so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.